I've never had bear in a bun, but bear soup is quite common. It's quite thick and chewy, and I don't really like the taste of it.
Wow.
Hello and welcome to the Abroad in Japan podcast, probably the best way of learning about life in Japan without actually being in Japan. I'm your host, Chris Broader. We're joined as always by England's top Japan enthusiast, Mr. Pete Dawson himself. Pete, how the devil are you doing? What's going on?
I'm good, Chris. I have an issue. I have problems. I have things that I need to come to terms with and fix in my life. That doesn't look like it's happening anytime soon, though. I have become the sort of person who buys magic tricks off the internet.
No, that's the first step to downfall.
It's the first step to men's rights activist, and the next step to men who in bright red shirts bothering women in the street doing day gaming. I wanted to on a slow week on the Football Ramble podcast, I wanted to enchant and surprise everyone with a flame trick, and I bought this little thumb thing. I've not got it with me, so I'm not going to do it here.
Oh.
So it's been a complete waste of time, though tax deductible waste of time. A little flame trick with some kind of cotton, flammable cotton. You go like that, and it's all I was bringing the razzle dazzle on an international week, which is always a little bit slow for the news stories. And then I saw this advert for a cane on the internet that's about that big, and you flick it, and then it becomes a big long cane, right? And it came in the post last night, and I tried it out, and I've cut my hand on it.
Oh God!
It's much less a cane, more a series of concentric sharp metal pieces of metal, and it's really dangerous.
What's the aim of this cane thing? What does the cane do?
It's very small, and then you flick a button, and then it gets incredibly big. But
Really?
the problem is, it's a piece of shit, and you don't buy it. If you see that advert for that on the internet, do not buy it, because it is rubbish. It doesn't work, and it slices your hand up something chronic. And you will have seen it; they're everywhere. And I went, right, I'll just go to Temu or Blummin, AliExpress, and I'll just get this, and it costs £1 because I was ordering some other stuff on there, and I've sliced my hand up. So don't buy magic tricks off the internet, because you will either set fire to house or you will hurt your hand.
Jesus bloody hell! Honestly, why do you get all this stuff? So, did you master the magic tricks? Though, did you get to the point where you
No. Well, it just looks like I'm lighting a. It just looks like I'm lighting. It doesn't look like
cocktail.
Flames have come. Yeah, it doesn't look like flames are coming out my hand. It just means that it just looks like I've got a lighter, and I don't care who knows it.
God, I remember when I was a kid, I bought Paul Daniels Magic. He's a big magician in the UK, and I remember getting a thimble or something and sticking a needle through my finger. It's just these aren't magic tricks, just self-harm, do-it-yourself self-harm kit or something. It's awful.
Well, that's the thing that always gets
stuff.
me about magic tricks. People create these magic tricks and then they put them on. Most people who will show you a magic trick have bought it on the internet, and they've learned how to use it, but it's not like. It's not. I find magic problematic at the best times. I hate being cheated. I don't like being lied to, Chris. I just always think with them, they're just being silly boys, and they're buying the things off the internet.
I'll never forget the highlight of Natsuki the movie. When we went to the UK, is Natsuki almost broke his neck in a wind tunnel, right? Which wasn't a magic trick. That was just stupid.
He did, yeah.
Almost broke his neck, and he went to an acupuncture clinic. Yeah, he went to an acupuncture clinic in London, in Bromley, I think, and this guy had a fire, flaming, a stick with a flame on it, honestly, and he was putting it in a cup and suctioning cup Natsuki's back, and at the end of it, as Natsuki's thank you to the guy called Terry, he did a magic trick to say thank you, a magic trick that involved putting a Chupa Chups lolly flat on his hand and doing something so the Chupa Chups lolly stood upright, on his hand. And to this day, I don't know how he did it. I don't know the science behind it. It was moderately impressive. And there's just an amazing shot of Terry, who is quite tired after a long day of working in an acupuncture clinic, just slowly looking at the camera like, what the fuck is this? Who is this man? Why am I being filmed? What's going on? Honestly, poor old Terry. But to this day, I don't know how Natsuki does the Chupa Chups lolly trick.
I think he just moves. I think you can get away with just tilting your hand just a little bit, and it really does have amazing effects to a.
Don't spoil the trick.
Yeah.
Natsky revealed. Natsky's secrets revealed.
Exactly. I'm like the
Bloody
Darren
hell.
Brown of. I'm like the Penn and Teller of Natsky's magic tricks. But I mean,
Darren Donaldson.
Big news. Darren Donaldson,
Darren
exactly.
Donaldson.
Darren. My there was a lass who actually got my first radio job. Who I won't say who it is for reasons. She outed Darren Brown on air on the radio, and I went,
What?
mate, I don't think that's public knowledge. I don't think that's public knowledge yet.
Outed him.
So,
right.
that's
Oh
good.
my God.
That's
Outed.
cool. Yeah, outed
Oh my
him.
no. God.
The classic outing, so to speak. But yeah, interesting.
Jesus.
What was I going to say? Chris, my car. The Toyota Century from 2000 is on the way. It is on the boat. It is currently on a boat. The Wisdom Ace left Yokohama on November 11th. It is now just off the
Japanese
coast
ship got hijacked by Yemen the other day.
Oh,
or
shut
something.
up! It didn't. None of that happened. It is now just basically going around the horn of Orchid Island, just next to Taiwan. Just going around near
it's not even begun.
down the bottom of. No, exactly. It's miles away. It's not going to get there for bloody age. So I'll be. I think it's the first week of January. I think they're expecting it to arrive. So that'll be
definitely not
fun
gonna arrive.
to do. To basically fart about with a car that may or may not be broken when it is the coldest month on record. Just titting about with a really cold car.
Isn't that astonishing? Like, your car is going to traverse the entire planet. As it makes the halfway point, a boat with some Houthis rebels from Yemen will turn up Yemen and they'll take the boat.
This is
steal
my
the car.
Toyota Century now, they'll say. Yeah.
It'll be driven around in battle. But I did see a Japanese ship got hijacked the other day by some rebels, and I'm glad your car wasn't on that. Admittedly, that was the least of my thoughts when I saw it, but I'm glad it's just seaborne, it's on its way, and it's coming. It's going to be the ultimate Christmas gift.
My
Japanese taxi car.
There's some people who are involved in Stack whose sort of history, before they started working with us, they provided security for maritime companies. So obviously, ships that go around provide, AK-47s and Kalashnikovs and blokes to ward off any plucky pirates off the old off certain regions of the world. And they did say on a couple of occasions they'd rather work with Nigerian warlords than deal with some of the people in the media industry in London. At least the warlords keep to their promises, they said. At least the warlords keep to their promises, which is a lovely little quote, I think.
Real life Captain Phillips there, Pete's car, coming in hot.
Exactly.
Let's fingers crossed it arrives in one piece. That's going to be quite the journey. Should have strapped a GoPro to it and filmed like a time lapse for 2 months.
Yes, fun.
Missed opportunity.
Fun.
We got a story from Nadia this week. It says, "Hello, Crusty Chris and Peculiar Pete." Crusty Chris. Oh. During my year abroad in Japan in the summer of 2018, I was commuting from my part-time job in Shibuya. It was a scorching hot day, so I opted for a comfortable A-line dress paired with white trainers and socks. Now, as a black woman in Japan, I often stood out a bit, but that day I attracted more attention than I expected. The train was predictably crowded, and I found myself standing while engrossed in my phone. I could sense a man standing behind me, peeking over at my screen. Initially, it made me slightly uncomfortable, but I brushed it off. We've all been curious. After a few stops, a seat finally became available, and I decided to take it while continuing to use my phone. To my surprise, the same man who had been eyeing up my screen decided to sit next to me. Again, his curiosity got the better of him, and he kept glancing at my phone. After about 7 stops, the man finally mustered the courage to strike up a conversation. He turned to me and asked...
Oh, good.
Oh, my God.
Reading ahead.
He turned to me...
Oh, good. I'm glad he did that.
And asked, "Are you Naomi Osaka, desho? You're Naomi Osaka, right?" I couldn't help but burst into laughter because, aside from being black, I shared absolutely no resemblance to the tennis superstar Naomi Osaka. Undeterred, the man continued, "Oh, but you must be good at tennis." At this point, I pondered how to explain to him in Japanese that I have dyspraxia and had no tennis skills whatsoever. In the end, I settled for a simple, yokunai desu yo, I'm not that good. The man seemed a bit embarrassed by his assumptions and promptly apologised. To my surprise, he got off at the same stop as me, oh, for fuck's sake, and offered me his phone number, suggesting that we must become friends. It was undoubtedly...
Oh, yeah, let's have more of that. Yeah,
right.
brilliant. Let me find out how deep this goes,
God.
shall we?
It was undoubtedly one of the most peculiar interactions I've had during my time in Japan. All the best guys. Nadia, definitely not. Naomi Osaka, definitely not good at tennis. Yeah. What a great story. My God.
Yeah, I mean
assumptions.
Welcome to the least richly diverse country in the world. Good God, yeah.
I don't walk up to like random Japanese man in London and be like, oh, see my son, are you Ken Watanabe? Are you Shinzo Abe? Like, before he died.
Yeah.
Like,
well, yeah.
Just
you had two choices there and you picked one man who was dead. Brilliant.
All right. Are
Good
you
stuff.
Hideo Kojima? Are you
Hideo Kojima?
Poor man having some,
to be
like,
fair, Hideo
ramen.
Kojima sometimes does. He does sometimes walk around Leicester Square. I think he.
Oh, nice.
I think last time he was in town, I think he might have walked past that curry house, that Japanese curry house. That's that chain. Oh, we've got one behind Charing Cross Station. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not great. Sorry, I got through that. No, there's so many stories that we read out on this podcast when we go, yeah, sorry about that, Nadia. Sorry about that, mate.
I mean,
that's
it
rough.
can happen. My good friend, editor Marcus, he was in Kyoto, just standing on the platform, and he turned and he saw a Japanese man, and he went, "Are you Shigeru Miyamoto, a Nintendo legend?" And he went, "Yes, I am." And he went, "Can I have a photo?" And Shigeru Miyamoto was like, "Yeah, sure." So there you go. You never know. You could be stood next to Shigeru Miyamoto if you're lucky. He was very lucky that day. But no, what a ridiculous story. No. Naomi Osaka.
Well, good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, good. I mean, to be fair, I did go to Iceland and go to that bar, and there was the only Iceland celebrity I know, the bloke who plays Royale Benoit that I spoke about in previous episodes of this.
What I like is, on the podcast, we have some folks who produce the sort of plan for the podcast, right? Of like a story, the news, all this is in a document. And usually they go ahead and they're very nice. They write some talking points, some ideas to spark conversation.
We always ignore them.
We always ignore them.
They keep trying.
I like the gesture. And underneath this story, the talking points section is just completely blank. They're like,
just nothing.
Fuck it.
Yeah,
There's
just nothing. Just like,
nothing to discuss. Nothing to discuss here.
Yeah, what have we learned? What have we learned? Nothing. Did we like the story? Not necessarily.
I like that.
Sorry
That's
about
funny.
that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, good.
Fair play to Nadia.
Nadia. And,
good writing there. That was a funny story. Well written.
Yeah.
But news.
Keep up with the tennis.
Yeah. Keep up with the.
Keep up with the tennis.
We got a news story.
You'll get there.
It's been a while, Pete, since we mentioned bears. All the bears. What's going on? So this year there's been more bear attacks than like ever before, because there's been no food for the bears. The bears have been coming out. All the food's gone. I'm not even sure what bears eat. It's not family chicky, unfortunately, or cup noodles. It's nuts and berries. And for whatever reason, the harvest was really bad this year. So the bears are like, shit, there's no food. So they're getting emboldened. Poor bears are going out. And things are getting out of hand. Fill us in, Pete. What's going on with boars and bears and all the wildlife in Japan?
Yeah, I mean, you teed it up with a lot of bear chat, but this is very much a boar-related story.
There's only one boar here, and he's called Pete Dawson.
And it's me. A wild boar was spotted near an 8-storey office building, 600 metres of Chiba Station, a bustling transportation hub surrounded by department stores and commercial high-rises. In 9 hours that followed, the beast had popped into a nearby 7-Eleven. A junior high school across the street. She'd injured a man in his 30s inside the grounds of an apartment complex. Imagine coming out your blooming lift and there's a boar there kicking off. And also rammed into a taxi before trotting off into the night. Eventually, 20 or so officers tracked the boar down, and after an aggressive battle where they were rushed a bit and shoved, the 42-kilogram female boar was sadly killed. There have been a spate of reports in recent months concerning various animal sightings and even attacks across towns and cities in Japan, the most frightening of which were perpetrated by bears in the northern Tohoku region. There, your bears. And between April and November, There were 58 incidents involving 66 people harmed by bears in Akita. And it's not just about Akita. Basically, a lot of like urban centres are beset by these bears and boars and quite dangerous animals. Wasn't there a guy? I mean, I will say for one, the talking points are absolutely full of ideas and things to talk about. Thank you, people who put together the. Thank you, producers. Lot of chat. You were silent in the last one, guys. But there is I think there was a news story around. I think it might have been a senator in the US who, after the 50th school or mass shooting in that month, he was sort of basically saying, I need my assault weapon because I need my assault rifle because what if 30 fully grown adult boars enter my property, and I think people sort of like laughed at it. It's like, this guy is just, he's just a gun nut who just wants to keep a gun. But boars are incredibly problematic, incredibly aggressive, incredibly physically imposing,
incredibly delicious. I used to work at a castle, and we'd serve wild boar. My God, the bap! We'd get like a breaded bun with the wild boar.
A breaded boar bap.
Oh, it was so good. I still can't stop thinking about it 12 years later. Not that I want to kill all the boar. I like boars. I think they're kind of cool, but they are dangerous. So there's a lot of them in the mountains in Fushimi Inari Taisha, the shrine, the most famous popular shrine in Kyoto. If you go up there at night, I mean, we had a story a while back where one of our listeners was strolling around, like taking in the ethereal sight of 10,000 red torii gates, and then they heard like something like that, and they heard like, roar! And it wasn't like a strange individual in a bush. It was like 2 wild boars going to battle in a hedge nearby. So you got to be careful. The boars are there.
Going into battle. Are you sure they were going into battle in a hedge?
They definitely were.
Sure it couldn't have been something else? When a mummy bear loves a daddy bear very much?
Oh, God. Oh, horrible thought. But yeah, I mean, journey across Japan, we're going up to Akita and Aomori. And I saw a map recently of bear attacks in Japan. And most of the country, there's nothing. And then there's like this very ominous patch on the border of North Iwate, Aomori, and Akita. A wild border.
Border.
It's not so much red dots as just one big strip of red. And we're going to be spending like 6 days there, so that should be fun.
Yeah.
Search out the bears. I feel bad, like Ryotaro. Ryotaro knows somebody. They have like bear hunters. I think they're called Matagi bear hunters in Akita. And Ryotaro is always like, I know somebody that does it if you want to cover it in a video. And I'm like, I don't want to cover that. I feel that's a bit, I don't know. I know it can be important. I know it's important.
It's quite divisive, isn't it? It's divisive, anything where you're controlling a natural population of animals, you're asking for trouble. I mean, you did just admit that you wanted to eat a boar in a bap, a big bao bun bap.
Well, I mean, this is where the debate gets shaky, isn't it? I've no moral high ground here. I've eaten bears because that's what they eat in Aomori and Akita, different parts of it.
What's
I wouldn't eat it again.
Bear in a bun. What's bear in a bun like?
I've never had bear in a bun, but bear soup is quite common.
Bear in a bun.
It's quite common in Akita. It's quite thick and chewy, and I don't really like the taste of it. And I don't know, it's weird. Like we're weird humans. How we're like we eat beef and pork and all this stuff. No problem. But then you picture like a nice bear. Maybe because I had a teddy bear that I liked. You picture these nice creatures and you think, oh, food? That's not right. Even though, I remember like when I did a video about the horse meat, I got more hate on that than nearly any video I've ever made. It was like, who could eat a horse? You're a monster. Even though that's like the local dish of Kumamoto. And Aomori, again, in Aomori they eat everything that moves. The fish, the bears, all sorts.
Is it fair to say though that with horse people, you either like a horse or you're very indifferent to it. And when you like it, you really like people who like horses really like horses. You know what I mean? I'm a dog person. I really like dogs. That sounds bad. That sounds bad.
Sketchy.
You know what I mean.
I think it just, where do you draw the line? It's all a bit. If you're somebody who owns horses or does horse riding, of course the idea of eating a beloved creature that's part of your family is not going to go down too well. But it's delicious. I'm just saying.
Get some
Basashi, raw horse meat, with a bit of garlic and soy sauce. It's nice. I don't eat it much. I think I eat it like once every 2 years, if that. But it is a thing. And if you go somewhere, Kumamoto or Aomori, and you're somebody that wants to try the local food, then go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it. But
go for it.
I don't choose to. Yeah, I don't choose to kill the horse. I think that's sad. I think it's sad. But then I eat all the beef.
I'm glad someone
so
had the guts to say
this
I
argument,
don't choose to kill the horse. Yeah, if a bit falls in my mouth.
Like a good friend of mine, he only eats animals and fish if he's caught them. But how often do you catch a horse or a bear? So he basically eats like some nuts and some berries. So
what about
doesn't
sort of like,
really work.
I think isn't there people fruitarians who only eat things that have fallen off trees rather than touch the tree themselves and knock it off.
Indeed, I will eat the trees. No more bear for me. Unless I make
will
it up
eat
there.
the trees.
But anyway, enough about bears. We'll be back just a moment, guys, with your stories, comments, and questions in the fax machine.
Wow.
And we're back with the fax machine. What have we got this week from our listeners, Mr. Dolls?
We got a message from Heather. Hello, Heather. Ahoy there, Peppa Pete and Chris. I'm a little hesitant about visiting Japan with my partner and friends, as they will eat pretty much anything. However, I'm vegetarian and I'm picky, and I have a couple of food allergies. Is it possible to order plain rice at most restaurants? Would most places accommodate such an odd request? I think it might be, although depressing the safest route. Loving the vodcast on YouTube, by the way. Warmest regards and all of the best wishes, Heather. Yeah, you can't you? Balls of rice, pretty standard in it. I don't think they necessarily add anything more than a little bit of vinegar to them, do they?
So you're talking about sushi rice, or?
Well, I just think just like a bowl of, like pretty much every place I've ever eaten in Japan, there's an option to just have a bowl of rice, so you should be all right with that.
Yeah. Rice, it's fine. Yeah, no problem. I feel bad now. We've talked about eating every form of creature known to man, all of God's creatures, and we've got Heather, the lovely Heather, who's a vegetarian. So, yeah, no, you're fine. Honestly, Heather, no problems there. Usually, every Japanese restaurant you walk in now, the first thing they ask is, like, Allergies, arimasu, are you allergic to anything?
Yes.
And you go yes or no, and it's fine. They take it very seriously, so don't worry about it. I just hate the word allergy in Japanese because it's allergy. It's really hard to say. Allergy. Oh, I can't do it. It's the only word harder than cold brew coffee, which is cold brew coffee. I can't do it. If you're allergic to cold brew coffee, you're fucked. You are so stuffed. Like, allergy arimasu ka? Boku no allergy wa cold brew coffee. Like, fucking nightmare. Hello, Chris and Pete. George from Minnesota says, I've watched the Abroad Japan channel pretty consistently. The first video I watched, having been the one where you teach Japanese people swear words. My God, that was a long time ago. Thanks for sticking around, man. I've had a busy schedule, and so I missed a few. So I've decided to binge watch all the videos I've missed over a weekend. This made me nostalgic, so I decided to recap the original Journey Across Japan series. I noticed the videos in this series were mostly shorter than your current videos. I know part of the reason was because you wanted to make daily videos, but I feel like in general the videos you made at the time were shorter than the ones you make now. I want to ask, has the length of your videos changed due to you having to submit to the almighty YouTube algorithm, or is there another reason? What kind of videos do you prefer making? Keep up the solid work. All the best, George from Minnesota. Good question. I know YouTube generally favours longer content, watch time above all else, right? So if I make a 5-minute video, it compares your current video to your last 10. And if your watch time is really bad compared to your last 9-10 videos, YouTube will just not promote the video, as has happened a few times. Whereas if it's longer and the watch time's great, woohoo, you're in. But at the end of the day, it's a balance between click-through rate and watch-through time. I like making longer content because I don't make that many videos, and I feel like if I'm going to only be able to have someone watch Abroad Japan once or twice a month, I want to have them there for a good 20-30 minutes so I can tell a story, show somewhere new, or go in depth on something, right? But for the next series of Journey Across Japan, the videos will generally be about 20 minutes, I think, for each episode. So, yeah, 20 minutes is the sweet spot for me, I think, to be honest, if I can. You know.
Like this podcast.
Like
We're a
this
bit
podcast.
longer, aren't we? I guess we're a bit like this podcast, yeah.
Bit longer, innit? One last question.
Bit longer, innit?
Hello, Pete and Chris. Kirsten from YouTube here. This is a YouTube comment. I've been to Japan 4 times so far and was always confused why Japanese, that mostly are extremely polite and call everything oishi delicious, tend to give most restaurants pretty bad reviews, with 3.5 out of 5 being the best you often see on Google or Apple Maps or even TripAdvisor. During my last trip to Osaka, Fukuoka and Kagoshima, I hardly found any restaurant with a rating close to 4. Is this the payback of people being polite, or is there a secret matrix that I just can't see so far? Curious to hear your thoughts. All the best, Kirsten. What do you make of that, Pete? I know for a fact, I asked Ryotaro this once because I've felt the same thing, right? And I generally don't go in a restaurant unless it's got 4.1, 4.2. But it seems Ryotaro told me, like, if it's got a 3, that's good. Like, that's fine. 4's, like, really amazing. And 5 is like God made it themselves, and it's like 5 is like something extremely special, like a yakitori restaurant in the Japanese Alps where they use special chicken or something. I don't know. There's
special mountain chicken. Oh, good.
Special free range
special
chicken. Special
restaurant.
mountain chicken. It comes at a premium. There's a restaurant, like the highest rated restaurant was a yakitori place called Yanagiya, I think, in it. They use like local game meats and things that are supposed to be really good. They got 5. But I rarely see above 4.6 or 4.4 actually. So yeah, 4.1's the sweet spot. But that's why, right, Pete? Have you found that on your trip? On your travels?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's kind of like culturally, obviously, Google reviews and TripAdvisor and stuff that transcends boundaries. But obviously, like a 7 out of 10 in the West might be completely different in the East, and you have it a lot like with. Like video games, like people get unbelievably upset. I do a podcast called VGC, a video game podcast. It's very good.
Name dropping
I have
is
to recommend it.
Other products, unbelievable.
Hey, I work bloody hard on that.
Disgraceful.
I don't. It's mainly horse about other people, but I'm sometimes on it. But it's really good, VGC. And we have like they get criticised roundly if they give a game a 7, like which, to all intents and purposes, a 7 out of 10. It's pretty good. You know, I think we've sort of live in this world where everything has to be the best thing in the world, 10 out of 10 or 0 out of 10, and anything in between is like, imagine just being good. Everything has to be bloody brilliant. And so like 7 out of 10s are quite toxic in the video game community, and you're having like Metacritic and stuff. People get very upset that you have reviewed a game at a 7 rather than an 8, or an 8 rather than a 9, or a 9 rather than a 10. You know, if people giving like, is it Breath of the Wild? Was that the second one, or Tears of the Kingdom? Tears of the Kingdom was the second one, wasn't it? The old Zelda game.
Yeah.
The giving people that were giving them 9 out of 10 instead of 10 out of 10. It's like nothing can be that perfect. It's so insane, like why people get so upset. But I guess people get quite tribal. Restaurant wise, I just think, culturally, I think it's just very different. And I want to live in a world where a 7 out of 10 is pretty good, or a 3 out of 5 is pretty decent. Personally, I want to see that.
Well, we live in a world where everything has to be like extremely bad or extremely good. There's no middle ground. People often comment on my latest video like, this is the best video I've ever seen. It's like on abroad Japan. It's like, this is the best video yet. It's like, it's not though, is it? It's probably like a 7. It's a 7.5.
7 out of 10. Yeah.
I rate all my videos in my head when I release it. I'm like, it's a 9, or that's a 6.
It's a James Milner. James Milner has played for a million years at football. He's now at Brighton. He's played for Liverpool, and he's a 7 out of 10 player. They can't all be Cristiano Ronaldo. They can't all be 9 out of 10s. They can't all be Lionel Messi. You need the 7 out of 10s to carry the water. You need the 7 out of 10s to keep business ticking over.
Absolutely.
I am a 7 out of 10 man. I'm a 7 out of 10 man.
Yes,
physically, a 3 out of 10. But every other part of me is a 7 out of 10. And I'm fine with that, God damn it. I got asthma. I got 7 out of 10 asthma. That knocks me down a few points.
He's a dishevelled out of 10, honestly.
Yeah.
I like that.
Got greying, receding hair. I'm 7 out of 10.
We should start a movement, 7 out of 10 cult. It's okay to be... almost
It's
brilliant,
okay
but
to be
not.
7, God damn it.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Remember that, guys.
Yeah.
Write that on your wall. So it's good to be a 7 out of 10. It's fine. It's acceptable.
Good to be a 7 out of 10.
Write down, put it on your wall. But above all, stick around. Come back for the Abroad Japan podcast. Keep the questions, comments coming into the fax machine. We'll be back later in the week to do it again before I head off on journey across Japan on a battle of wits. And in fact, I don't even know if I'm going to see you again before I go, Pete. Hopefully I will. We've got to work that out.
Chris is going to be a 2 out of 10 most mornings on journey across Japan.
IGN 10 out of 10 abroad Japan. And I'm going to be hanging out with solid 8 out of 10 individuals, guests that include Ryotaro, Natsuki, Connor, Sharla, Animation Man, and American Pete. So it's nothing but the best for you. But for now, guys, see you there. Have a great few days, and thanks for joining us here on the Abroad Japan podcast. We'll see you soon.